Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 3 of the Road to 1000 Beavers. In today's episode we're going to be starting out with a drought 4 days long. Shouldn't be too big of an issue. We have plenty of beaver workers and plenty of projects to work on. One of those projects being getting this dam set up to give us some more green space over here. And hopefully pretty soon that could expand into this area as well. We'll just need to remove these barriers and then get some dams set up over here. So right off the bat, let's go ahead and get some levees placed over here. We'll have them construct all this when they can. It's not super high on the priority list since we don't even have this set up yet. And now that the water stopped flowing, that means we have no power over here, which means we get to pause all 8 of these buildings. And that also means that we have an unemployed beaver now, but thankfully we can go ahead and toss a few of them into these hauling posts. And we are starting to run a little bit low on water. We had over 200 at the end of the last episode, but now we're starting to dip down. So we can go ahead and start getting some more water pumps set up. And as the beavers pick these sunflowers, we can go ahead and get some more water pumps set up over here. And it looks like we actually are maxed out on scrap metal at the moment. Let's go ahead and get some storage for that over here. Looks like we have plenty of potatoes that have been grown up, but we don't actually have that many that have been picked. So we'll go ahead and have these guys focus on potatoes. That way Senway can go ahead and get some more grilled potatoes fired up. In preparation for the upcoming wet season, we'll go ahead and get a second water tank set up. There are plenty of gears that they can use to get this constructed. They'll just have to wait until the next wet season to get some more planks. And it looks like the beavers are working on getting all of this set up. To make it go by faster, what we can do is get some stairs placed down here. They won't be able to construct these until the wet season, but that is only in half a day. And so probably a day or two later we'll get some more power back, get some planks up and running, and then they can get these stairs constructed and complete all of these bottom 2 rows from down here instead of having to go one at a time over the top. We are in the process of rapidly expanding our population, and we are feeling the effects a little bit. We are actually running a bit short on food. We have both of these farmhouses that are fully staffed, so we need to make sure we start looking at some other places that we can plant some food. I think our best option at the moment is honestly going to be over here, but we can't get this set up until we finish constructing the dam over here, and then remove the barricades and have the water flow over here. But we also have to finish this as well, so we're a little bit of a ways away. So at least in the short run, we'll go ahead and get a third farmhouse set up, high prioritize it, get some beavers working in there. Since we have a decent amount of food, we just haven't actually harvested it all. Water, we're actually doing pretty good. We're up to almost 300 now, but we will go ahead and get some more water pumps set up over here once they finish harvesting the sunflowers. And the water is just about back, and not a moment too soon we have all these beavers standing by, ready to start working on some production. Plus we have 8 water wheels now instead of 4. So these will give us a great amount of power. We also hit 300 science recently, so we can go ahead and get the smelter unlocked. And I know immediately we'll be running short on metal blocks, so we'll go ahead and get a couple of those set up. Plus we'll get another gear workshop set up as well. We also want to get some storage set up for the metal blocks. We do not want to have them just stacked up inside the smelters. We're actually maxed out on wood over in this pile, which is a good problem to have. That means that the beavers just have to bring the wood all the way over to the pile over here. We are starting to stack up in planks, which is fantastic. We will be able to apply some of those to these buildings right here. And they take a lot of planks, 50 planks for a single smelter. And just like I mentioned in the last episode, we are trying to rapidly expand our population. We potentially only have one more cycle until the badtide shows up. And right now we are not even close to being ready to deal with it. Ideally I want to get a pass set up over here, and then we can start looking to divert the badwater earlier. So maybe in this section, and then have it go over here, and then finally out this way. But at the very least, we do need to get a dam set up over here. And if we have some metal blocks, then we can make some sluices, and that would just automate the whole thing. Looks like they are pretty close to getting this smelter constructed. We're just missing about half the planks that we need, plus a few pieces of scrap metal. And it looks like we have 0 babies at the moment. We do have 10 beds, but we only have 1 vacant job, which is good news. We have most of the buildings turned on at the moment, but if we need some more jobs, we can always fit a few more in the hauling posts. And they are nearly complete with the dam over here. Let's actually go ahead and high prioritize this. And then we can raise the level of the rest of this to the normal priority. And with all the beaver workers we have, they should be able to get this done pretty quickly. Although I'm thinking about it, and actually, if we change this just a little bit, that actually could be a little bit of a backup plan if we don't get the badwater diversion system up here set up. What we could do is raise this and then divert the bad water out through here, You would just need to have either some dams set up or maybe some sluices. We do have some metal blocks, so let's go ahead and pause this. We'll go ahead and remove, let's do 4 of them. Or you know what, we'll actually remove this many. And then I think we're just short on science, so they can go ahead, they won't be able to construct everything, but if we get some stairs set up, then they should be able to finish the rest of this. They just finished the last levee, so now we're going to get a little bit of extra water storage. And we are still a little bit short on planks at the moment. We are missing some for both the smelter and for this gear workshop. But as soon as they get these stairs constructed, they'll go ahead and be able to work on the rest of this dam. And I am seeing that we are actually pretty short on food. Let's go ahead and unpause this farmhouse. We'll get all 3 beavers working in there. And then we can pause one of these builders' huts for now, because we cannot be running short on food. We are starting to slow down on wood a little bit, but I think we should have enough extra capacity over here. Plus we have all these trees up top that we will be chopping down in the near future. Looks like they should be done with this smelter. They just need to finish actually constructing it. But then we'll be able to double up the amount of metal blocks that we have being produced. And I think by the end of tomorrow we should have enough science to get the sluice unlocked. And then we can place them down at the bottom here. Although, you know, I am thinking about it. And so I'm going to pause it. If we end up having badwater needing to go out this way, initially we'll have this full of water. And so even if badwater did start flowing through and then I closed this off, it would start to go into here, but this would already be full of water. So it wouldn't be able to trigger the contamination threshold to actually have the sluices open up. So I think it actually makes sense to go ahead and get a triple floodgate unlocked. Although this is 500 science, so it's an additional 100 that we are trying to get for the sluice. But I think we will need to get that set up. So we'll be holding out just a little bit longer. In the meantime, the beavers are able to work on this set of platforms over here, which will get us access to some closer scrap metal, and we won't have to have these beavers walking all the way over here to collect scrap metal. And then we can also get this lumberjack flag set up, and then he can start chopping down some of these trees, and we'll continue to make our way over here. And one thing we can do while we're waiting on the extra science to get the triple floodgate set up over here, we can have the beavers start making their way up the river, get a path set up, elevated above the water in case bad water comes down here, and then get some sluices set up below here. But we'll wait to unlock those until they actually get up here, and also after we get up to the amount of science that we need, since we're trying to get 500 for the triple floodgates, and then we'll need an additional 300 to get the sluice set up. So with both planks and wood looking like they're in a good spot, I think we're actually running a little bit short on science at the moment. And now there's a million things that I want to unlock, because I also want to get some zipline stations set up just to make the transportation around the colony a lot more efficient. Which this takes 700 science, and then the pylon is an additional 500. So let's look at getting some inventor's hut set up here. It's nice and out of the way, and I don't think we'll be using this space in the immediate future. So let's go ahead and prioritize these. And we do need to continue getting our population up. And so with basically everything here, I am going to try and make this a little bit more of an aesthetic build. But for the first few cycles, we do need to focus on getting the essentials covered. Specifically, we need to make sure that we have the badwater diversion system set up. And then once we have those systems set in place, we can go ahead and start trying to make stuff a little bit prettier. But we did hit the 500 science mark, so let's go ahead and get these triple floodgates unlocked. And we can go ahead and prioritize all of them. We are actually running a little bit low on wood, so we'll go ahead and start unpausing some of these miscellaneous lumberjack flags just to get some of these extra trees chopped down. And it does look like we have another drought incoming, thankfully not a bad tide. And we are in trouble. We have 0 food. Thankfully we have some berries over here that we can go ahead and harvest. So we'll go ahead and get a couple gatherer flags set up over here. So this will tie us over until we can get these set up, and then with this area being flooded, we'll go ahead and get another farmhouse set up over here. And then we'll just stick with some of the basics for now, some carrots and sunflowers. Unfortunately, the beavers were not able to construct this set of levees before the drought started, so we won't be removing these barriers during this drought. But we do have another efficient farmhouse that is over here. We'll go ahead and bump that up on the priority list, and I'm pretty sure all of these are actually done. So we'll go ahead and high prioritize those, and then we'll have some of these guys just plant some crops pretty quickly, and then we can move them out of there while the food is growing up. We do have some backup berries, and we can temporarily switch this from carrots to berries. That way they can actually put some of those away and get a little bit more of this stored up. So we did hit the 400 science mark. So we can get the sluices unlocked. Although we might wait a little bit because they haven't made it all the way over here. And if we end up getting enough science that we can unlock the zipline station instead, then maybe we'll go ahead and do that. But for now we can go ahead and start pausing all of these buildings. And now that we have all those unemployed beavers, we'll go ahead and unpause this builder's hut. And then also get some more beavers in the hauling post. We're still a little bit short on wood, so we'll get a couple more lumberjack flags set up over here. And thankfully we have some extra crops planted. These guys can't do anything else, so we'll go ahead and pause them for now. And we are actually basically maxed out on jobs at the moment. So it looks like they actually have almost finished constructing these wooden stairs. We'll drop this down to 1, unpause it, since they don't have anything else to do. So he'll be waiting, and then he can plant the remaining crops up here. And in the meantime, let's get some more inventor's huts placed up here. These will definitely be summer jobs, and I think these ones probably will as well, since we already have 5 that are down here. And we have a lot of hungry beavers. Unfortunately, they are dipping into the berry stores, so it's a good thing that we have these guys working. These crops have just barely been planted. They're only about a day old. And it looks like they have put all the materials in, so they just need to finish constructing that. And then we can remove this once the drought is over, which is only a couple days away. And another reason we want to get some extra crops is because this space is space that I want to use for getting some zipline stations set up. This is going to be the central hub, since I do plan on having them basically go out in every direction, going out over here to get access to these crops, the forester and lumberjack flags, plus the ones up top, making it a lot easier to get back to the center of the colony, and then having one going across the river over here. And the drought is officially over. We are at day 1 of cycle 5, and the beavers are working their way up the river. We are completely out of planks at the moment, unfortunately, but the water is slowly returning. It'll take a little while for the water to spiral all the way around, but with the lack of planks that we've been making, we do have a lot of wood stored up, which is some good news. And it looks like we have some beavers who need to be reassigned. And we can also go ahead and demolish this blockage over here, and then we'll slowly have the water start filling this whole area up. And this is adding a lot of green space, and so we'll go ahead and preemptively unpause this, and we'll just leave a small gap in here for now, since we do want a lot of this water to go through and start powering all these facilities. And now it is doing just the trick. These water wheels are slowly starting to spin, and we'll go ahead and temporarily lower this just to get some more power into this system. Thankfully we have some crops over here, so let's go ahead and bump this up, prioritize it by the haulers. And as day 3 begins of the 5th cycle, we are slowly starting to fill this basin up with some water. And we now have production in full swing. And unfortunately, we are running into the issue where the dams, they just void all the water behind their storage system, and then the power wheels stop running temporarily. So it's a bit of a surge that's coming through here. I think I want to replace these with floodgates, and then just have some platforms behind. Looks like the water is starting to get up to the 3rd tier right now, and just like that, the green space is flowing over this area, and we can actually expand how many crops that we have planted. And at this point, the water elevation is pretty similar to what it is going through here, so we'll go ahead and remove these last few blockages. Oh, I did not even realize that the water goes out this way. So we have this set to 1 now, and we are going to have an emergency set of levees constructed over here. Thankfully we can go all the way across and go ahead and high prioritize all of these. Let's take a look at the jobs. It looks like we have 7 vacancies. That is quite a few. We can go ahead and reduce the amount of farmers. In fact, let's actually just pause this for now. Since we have 3 beavers working in here, and we're actually doing a little bit better on food, over 200 carrots. We can also, well, it looks like some of the food over here is also growing up, but since we're doing decent on food, we'll reduce this to 2. So it looks like we have 2 lumberjack flags that are lowest priority, so we can leave those unpaused since those are 2 of the vacant jobs. And then we have another lumberjack flag that is lowest on the priority list, but if this one's already filled, then it means that the other low priority jobs are also probably filled. But we do want to go ahead and get some more beavers, since it seems like we have the food issue solved for now. We have plenty of crops that are growing up, and then plenty that we are able to harvest over here. And worst case scenario, we could just go ahead and build another farmhouse, and they'd be able to harvest even more crops. So let's go ahead and look at expanding the houses over in this direction. And in fact, with the amount of science we have, 1.3 thousand, we can go ahead and unlock, let's see, should we do the double or triple lodge? Let's go ahead and do the double lodge, a little bit more efficient in terms of wood. And we'll get that placed right over here. And then we can go ahead and get another house built on top of it. So that should be 9 more beavers that we can get into our colony. And if we actually shift these water pumpers over just one tile, then we can get a path going across here. So let's go ahead and temporarily get rid of this one. We'll shift these 2 over shortly. But we're doing pretty good on water, so we don't need to focus on that right now. Looks like the beavers are making good progress getting those levees constructed. They really just need to finish building them, and then they'll be good. They have all the materials. And it looks like there's at least 1 beaver who's going out there to construct that, so we can go ahead and start raising these double floodgates. Although we'll do that during the evening, since we do need the water to flow through here to power all these buildings. And I think that final builder is finally going out there. He's going to construct this last levee, which will help start filling up this pool and give us some more permanent green space. But now we have to go ahead and shift our focus upstream and look at getting the badwater diversion system in place. So we'll start by getting some levees placed across here, and we can go ahead and unlock the sluice. And it looks like the beavers did finish constructing all these stairs over here. So we'll go ahead and add a couple lumberjack flags over here. We have enough saved up that we can go ahead and actually get rid of these ones, or at least pause them for now. And then we'll high prioritize these ones, and then we'll get the beavers transferred over there. There's not a whole lot of scrap metal in this area, but that should keep us going at least for now. And then pretty soon we can go ahead and look at getting the zipline unlocked, and we can start setting up some zipline stations over here. But we'll probably do that after we get some of the essential zipline stations set up, primarily going in this direction and then over across here, which will also require us to unplant some of these crops over here. We'll go ahead and remove all of these ones, so once they grow up they'll go ahead and pick them and then just not replenish them. We'll probably be able to eliminate this farmhouse entirely. And the beavers are slowly adding to the construction over here. Looks like the first level is almost complete. And so we'll go ahead and switch all of these to contamination levels, and we don't need to worry about the downstream depth at all. Now that we have some metal blocks, we can also go ahead and look at getting some badwater pumps set up. Those don't actually cost too much science, only about 250, so we'll go ahead and unlock that. And then we'll go ahead and get 2 of those set up over here, and then we'll go ahead and get some platforms across so they can actually reach it. But we'll go ahead and low prioritize both of these. Since we don't really need to have that constructed at the moment, we have a few things we want to focus on first. Oh, and I set myself up for failure. We can't even reach this platform over here. Gotta go ahead and get some stairs set up. High prioritize that. And in the meantime, we can go ahead and get another couple platforms set up. Might as well high prioritize these 3 buildings. And then we can do something similar by placing another double lodge right over here when we need to. Looks like we're doing fantastic on food. We're almost maxed out on carrots. So we'll go ahead and switch this from explosives to carrots for now. And then we can also start setting up some more storage, but once again, low prioritize it. Not really essential at the moment. Although we should start getting some pine resin collected because we will need some treated planks in the future. And that is 500 science, but before we do that, I want to focus on getting some zipline stations set up. I think we have everything else unlocked that we need at the moment. We have the sluice and all the floodgates that we need. We can go ahead and get some single ones down the road, but I don't really see a need for them at the moment, which means we can go ahead and unlock the zipline station. They have started removing some of these crops. Let's go ahead and switch the focus to sunflowers for these guys. Hopefully they can go ahead and pick these ones. And then I gotta start figuring out how I want to orient all of these zipline stations and where they're actually going to be going. And there's a bad tide approaching. We have 3 days. We have to super high prioritize all of this. So let's make sure we have all the builders' huts open that we can. There's not one open here, so let's go ahead and do that. We have 11 vacant jobs. We'll go ahead and pause some of these lumber mills since we have a lot of planks right now. Same with Gear Workshop. We can go ahead and switch those guys. We do not need science, so we'll go ahead and pause these inventor sets as well. Now I do need to make sure that if the bad water goes over here, that actually won't affect us at all. It looks like it all channels down in here, so I don't think that it will impact us even if it went this way. This goes upstream, so it's not even possible. Looks like we have 16 builders in total. We can go ahead and double check that. Yeah, 3 builders' huts plus a district center. But we also want to try and utilize the haulers, so maybe we can go ahead and get a couple small piles placed over here. Although I don't think that'll actually be a problem. They should be able to finish these last few pieces, so let's go ahead and get rid of these. And then I will also need to make sure that I replace this staircase with a levee. Otherwise the bad water will definitely be flowing out this way. We have a single day left. They have basically finished this one, and as soon as that one's done, we can go ahead and remove these stairs. And then let's make sure we get this last levee placed down. And thankfully they did finish constructing all the levees over here. So I think just having it one level above should be sufficient to have the badwater diverted over here. In worst case scenario, if the badwater does somehow overtop this, we do have this whole area, which I would not love to have to drain this, because that means we'd lose all these crops, plus we'd lose these ones and these trees from the badwater going through. But I'm thinking that it won't happen. We'll just have to wait 0.2 days and see. And the badtide has officially started. You can see it is starting to infect everything a little bit. Unfortunately, that means it's probably going to be killing all of the green stuff around here. In fact, it'll even make its way all the way down here. It's really just going to be our little section that is blocked off from the bad water. But now we can go ahead and start focusing on the zipline station, see how we want to actually orient it. So for now, we'll get a couple of them placed right here, and then we'll have a third one over in this area. We will also need to get the pylon unlocked, since we can't actually connect these two at the moment. And then it looks like we could actually directly connect from this one to this one over here. And so we'll go ahead and get that one set up right here. And it looks like the badtide is officially over. I did not even notice that it got over here, but it looks like these did close off. But it only lasted a day, I believe, so it's going to take a while for the badwater to actually circulate out of the system. That does mean that we need to worry about pumping this whole area dry, because we do not want to do that. That would remove all the irrigation from everything over here. So we'll go ahead and pause a couple of these guys. Then we can also go ahead and pause all of these production facilities, which means we now have extra workers, and we got some inventor sets to put them in. And with all of these inventor sets up and running, hopefully we'll get to 500 science pretty quickly, and then we can go ahead and unlock the zipline pylon. Looks like we are actually completely out of planks, and we're running a bit low on metal blocks as well. So we are needing power pretty desperately, since we don't have any of these buildings up and running. Although it does look like we finished setting up these badwater pumps, so let's go ahead and get some temporary storage set up for these. Although it does look like the water has finally returned, it only took a couple of days. But now the water wheels are up and running again, so we can go ahead and start shuffling some beavers back into these buildings. Thankfully, it looks like most of the trees up here survived. There were a few that ended up dying off, but since the badtide only lasted for one day, I don't think that it really impacted them too much. But we did hit the 500 science mark, so let's go ahead and unlock the pylon. And so we do have 5 vacant beds and 11 children, so we should be able to get some more beavers into jobs relatively soon. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and get another house constructed. And at this point, we are safe from bad tides. The trees up here might get impacted if the bad tides last more than a day, but we are actually safe, so that is good news. And now we can kind of start looking at the long-term plan for this colony over here. And there are a few things that we need to focus on. I think one of them is the power. We are completely dependent on water at the moment, and specifically we're dependent on flowing water, which during a bad tide and a drought, both of those options will eliminate these power wheels. So we have to start looking at getting some gravity batteries and some windmills unlocked. But we're going to go ahead and save that for the next episode. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and smash that like button. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel even more, consider becoming a channel member. There will be a link in the description. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.